Anton Chekhov is widely considered one of history's greatest short story writers. His work often pulls apart the complicated mechanics of human kindness and transformation. In his story, The Beggar, we meet a man named Lushkov. Lushkov survives on the streets of Russia through deceit. He approaches strangers and manipulates their emotions, claiming to be a poor, expelled student one day and a fired village schoolteacher the next. He tells people he hasn't eaten in 3 days and needs just 5 kopecks to afford a bed for the night. A kopeck is a Russian coin equal to 1/100th of a ruble, so he is asking for absolute pennies out of sheer desperation. But his routine hits a wall when he approaches an advocate named Sergei. Sergei recognizes the beggar's overcoat and mismatched shoes from a few days prior. He catches Lushkov in his lie, and his reaction is immediate, furious disgust. He threatens to call the police for swindling. Lying to extract sympathy exploits the good nature of society. It forces the listener into a false reality and slowly erodes the beggar's own internal self-respect, trapping them in a cycle of helplessness. Instead of calling the police, Sergei offers a strict alternative. If Lushkov is truly hungry, he can earn that money by chopping wood in Sergei's shed. This diagram shows the concept of the dignity of labor. The idea is that performing honest, physical work allows a person to climb toward independence and self-respect. Begging and deceit, down here at the bottom, destroy that self-worth. Lushkov agrees to chop the wood, but his motivation isn't a sudden desire to work. He accepts the task simply because he has been trapped by his own words. He is driven entirely by shame and pride. Think about a time you received something you didn't earn, compared to the lasting pride you felt after completing a difficult chore independently. The handout leaves a hollow feeling, while the effort builds your confidence. Sergei correctly identifies that honest work is needed to build character. However, simply forcing a physically and mentally broken person into hard labor without addressing their underlying pain is an incomplete solution. Out in the freezing cold, Lushkov faces a harsh physical reality. His health is entirely undermined by years of drinking vodka. He lacks the strength or stamina to even properly hold the axe, let alone chop logs in the snow. He is accompanied by Sergei's cook, Olga. Her initial reaction is fierce. She glares wrathfully at the beggar, scolding him and expressing clear disgust at his pathetic, drunken state. Yet her behavior reveals a critical contradiction. Despite her furious words and sharp tongue, she physically shoves him aside. She firmly picks up the heavy axe and takes over the grueling physical labor of chopping the wood herself. Meanwhile, Sergei watches from the warmth of his dining room window. When he sees the finished pile of chopped wood, he happily pays the beggar 1/2 ruble. Sergei assumes his strict method of tough love has succeeded. There is a real danger in judging success purely by outcomes. A completed task does not mean a moral lesson was learned. External compliance can easily mask a total lack of internal change. Olga's intervention goes far deeper than physical labor. She sits directly across from the beggar Lushkov in the dirty woodshed, looking at his face, and begins to weep. She sheds tears in genuine despair over his ruined life and his grim future. This split-screen graphic compares the two approaches to helping others. On the left, we see Sergei's transactional help, providing a task and conditional reward. On the right is Olga's empathetic help, sharing his physical burden and taking on his emotional weight. Over the next several months, Lushkov repeatedly returns to the yard. He is completely sober. He shovels snow, beats dust from rugs, and eventually secures a better job copying letters for a friend of Sergei. Something about these encounters keeps Lushkov coming back. Seeing someone else grieve for your failures provides a mirror you can't look away from. It creates a tension that can only be resolved by changing who you are. 2 years go by, and the men have a chance encounter at a theater ticket window. Sergei is delighted to find a completely transformed Lushkov. The former beggar is now well-dressed and earning a stable salary as a notary. Sergei immediately congratulates himself. He firmly believes that his harsh scolding and strict push toward manual labor was the sole reason for the man's success. He even calls Lushkov his godson. Then Lushkov confesses the truth. He never chopped a single stick of wood for Sergei. Olga the cook did all the physical labor. Lushkov explains that he stopped drinking the very moment he realized someone was truly suffering on his behalf. Olga's words and her noble deeds forced a change in him that Sergei's scolding never could. Opportunity gave Lushkov a job, but Olga's empathy gave him a reason to keep it. In the end, it wasn't the axe that changed him, it was the person who held it for him. When you set out to help someone, which method do you use?